men, I am Wonder Woman. I kind of like that. Just skip to the part where I thrashed you all. I'm gonna take that as a no.
Not your usual, but I hope it will do. Nice to see you again, John.
Again? All of it. All of them.
Some call me Angela. Others call me... Queen of Angels.
You.
Coming?
Where?
Afraid of me, John? Do you think I'm one of them? A devil from hell?
Maybe.
Come with me and you'll see that I am so much more.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Great. When I was doing my tech check a second ago, it was like, we can't hear you on the microphone. I was like, doesn't look good.
You sound perfect.
Great.
Right. How's your morning going?
It's all right. It's all right. I have small kids and it's the end of the school year, so it's just all that.
Yeah, summertime's kicking in.
We're getting there. I'm actually at the point now where I'm like hoping for some summertime vibes. I'm like, let's get there.
Okay. Yeah, because I know as soon as like summer hits, I know everybody's gonna be busy and you guys got a lot of stuff to do because I know that conventions and you guys are gonna have to be at more conventions because the kids need something to do now that they're out of school.
Yeah.
That's what I learned last year. I'll say now I understand why these guys are busy because they got so many conventions in the summer to go to
Yeah. Yeah,
because of the
it's
kids.
the hard part is figuring out, like, what do we do with them if we have to go away to work?
That's a trend. Hopefully you leave my grandma's, right?
I wish. I wish.
Well, that's something you'll have to figure out when school gets out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, if the small talk is over, I guess we can get this started. I know you got a thing at 3, so I'm gonna try to keep it as short as possible, okay?
Great. Sounds good.
Great. So, nice, happy Wednesday, everybody. So, my name is Phil. I'm host of the Conversation Podcast, and I have a guest with me this afternoon. Introduce yourself. Who's Rachel Kimsey I'm speaking to today?
Hi, I am Rachel Kimsey. I'm an actor and voice actor and coach. You might know me from Wonder Woman on Justice League Action or Rachel Kane in Black Ops 3. I appear as many a faceless robot in X-Men 97, or who else was I faceless robot in? Something else. I can't think of it right now. I'm Alice in Genshin Impact. I pop up in a lot of your faves.
Especially Constantine City of Demons.
Yes, yes. Playing the Angel of Los Angeles was a really fun time.
There you go. I actually watched that 3 weeks ago while I was watching the DC AMU because it goes with it as well. Because I was watching, the death of Superman, and then I watched that afterwards.
Yeah,
So
yeah. He's a solid Constantine. I think that they did well to double down and hold on to him. He's great.
yeah, Matt Ryan, whoo, he's amazing.
Amazing.
So hope to see him in more projects soon. Now, before we get straight into it, let's start with a little bit of an icebreaker.
Okay.
So, summertime is almost here. Do you have any beaches you would like to go to?
Well, I am very lucky. I live closer to the beach now than I ever have in my life. Even when I was living in Los Angeles, I didn't get there as often as I should. And so now I actually live near the beach. So my big dream is to take surf lessons either this summer or next summer so I can finally live my full beach dreams.
There you go. Hey, listen, I'm close to Tybee Island. Listen, I'm based in Georgia. So
Okay.
I'm close to Tybee Island. It takes like a 1 hour drive to get over there. I do like to go out there after just to rewind and reset. They got some good restaurants over there as well.
Nice. Well, and your ocean is so much warmer than ours, so it is so pleasant to be in. You gotta rally to get into the Pacific Ocean. You gotta decide you really want it.
Yeah, because I know some of you guys do come down to Georgia sometimes, especially Savannah. Savannah's a small town, but there's a lot to see down there, restaurants and everything. And I did hear that one of the voice actors' friends, Cricket Leg, said she had a friend who actually came to my hometown for spring break to Tybee Island. I didn't know who she was. I didn't couldn't catch her because I don't know who she was, out of respect for her friend.
That. It's I always love the idea that somebody comes to visit the place that you take for granted every day because that's just where you live. I love that.
Mm. Yes. Well, hey, make sure you find some beaches. I know y'all busy trying to go to conventions and all everything for the kids, but go to a beach this summer if you can.
We'll do our best.
So I have 20 questions here, but some of those questions are gonna be mashed up into two-part questions, okay? Just to keep it short.
Okay.
So let's start with the usual, the origin story and turning points. So this one is going to be a two-part question. The first one. Now, what was the moment you realized acting wasn't just something you loved, but something you had to pursue? Part two,
Mhm.
was there a defining yes or no early in your career that changed your path?
Yeah, for sure. In a way, they were kind of the same moment. And it was actually when I was still in high school. I went to a place called the Oregon Shakespeare Festival, and I went to a summer training program because I was that kind of high school drama nerd. And I remember the feeling of standing on the stage. We were just doing a backstage tour. I wasn't doing a show. We were just walking onto the theater stage, and I walked out onto the apron of the stage, and I just had this feeling where my whole body finally felt at home for the first time in my whole life. And it was like a voice was speaking to me from the outside and was like, this is what you need to do with the rest of your life. And from that moment on, I knew that that was the path for me. And it took a lot of turns and it looked a lot of different ways. There were different moments where um, things shifted from what I had assumed. Standing on that stage as a 17-year-old, I assumed that meant I was going to be doing Shakespeare for the rest of my life. And it turned out that was not the path. Um, but that moment was the moment I realized it wasn't just something I liked. It was something that was intrinsic to me and that I needed to do. Um, the first movie that I ever did was a little independent film called Fortune Cookie. And I remember being halfway through making that movie and going, oh, this is really fun. Maybe it doesn't just have to look like what I've already known. Maybe there's a lot of stuff I've never done yet that is going to turn out to be what I love. And that was kind of what moved my career forever was not assuming that I knew what it needed to be, but being willing to let things change so that I could try new things.
And sometimes, people get into the scene and realize this is something that I have to do because there's nothing else that I can find out there that really suits my needs. And let me say this, sometimes voice acting isn't for everybody. But in some cases, in some like people's journeys in life, they realize it's something they have to do in order to survive. Because at the end of the day, you guys are just trying to live. Life is expensive. Just existing is expensive.
Yeah.
But you have to like go through certain obstacles to make sure that everything turns out right, whatever you're doing, especially if you're voice acting as well.
Yeah. There have been a lot of times in my life where I was surviving on a wing and a prayer and a couple quarters in my pocket, and times where things were going much better, and remembering that even when I was desperately poor and very, very hungry, literally hungry, there still was nothing else that I wanted to do. And that's kind of what held me over between the good times and the bad times, is realizing that my joy still came from this work and the pursuit of this work, even when it was really hard.
Yeah. Also, and if I can add on something to that, I don't know if you do you know the voice actor Alex Lee by any chance?
I don't.
You don't? Okay, so I think so here's what happened. There was a post that he made last week on Wednesday night while I was trying to go to sleep.
Yeah.
And he was saying like he's been getting a lot of hateful comments lately about how people are just saying like, "Hey man, he's like he's getting on this man because he's popular." That's what it was. Then he said, "I wish." Because what he told us was that, back then when he was just starting out in 2018, 8 years ago, he like when he was trying to get into the industry, he was cut off from his parents and he only had $2,000 in his pocket, which wasn't a lot of money.
Right.
So he had to like basically, do a lot of auditions and keep finding opportunities. He couldn't wait for someone to come in and save him. He had to do the work to
Hmm.
get to what he was doing. So what I'm trying to say is, with his experience and your experience, it's not an easy job. Like you have to go through a lot of rejections and stuff, and like really put in the work and make them seem like, hey, we want to have opportunities as much as we can. That's why some of the fans out there don't. They just see y'all as voicing characters and what. I say, hey, this seems pretty easy. No, it's not. From you guys' perspective, it's not.
Well, from any perspective, it's not. The thing to remember, and I think this applies to any business, any industry, but especially to creative industries, is when you see people who are doing well, that is the middle to the end of their journey, the time that it took, the process it took to get there. And sometimes that looks like training, and sometimes it just looks like wheels on the ground time. I have been pursuing this as a career since I was 17 years old. I did it in college. I moved to New York. I moved to Los Angeles. I thought I was going to do Shakespeare. I did movies. I did television. I did all kinds of things. I didn't just pursue voiceover. I pursued the career and the life of being an actor. And so it took a lot of different changes. I did stunt work in Taiwan, like there are a lot of directions that this can go. Some people pick the right avenue right up front. But I think the thing that's important is, especially if you look at a creator's work, you're only seeing that moment, right? There's that famous, Picasso moment, that quote, right, where somebody asks him to draw something, he draws something up and hands it to, quick sketch and hands it to them and charges some, insane number. And they're like, for 30 seconds of work. He said, no, that's for 30 years of work. That's for 30 years of practice, right? And I think it's good to remember, like, we're seeing people's highlight reels, whether you're seeing them as musicians or voice actors or painters or gardeners or accountants, right? Like all of these things, all of these jobs, all of these life paths take time, consistency, steady dedication to work and building relationships. And I think it's really important that when you see something as a fan or as somebody who appreciates it, to remember that that's not the beginning, that's the middle, that's the end. What you're seeing that looks effortless is because of years and years and years and years of effort. Which is not to say like, oh, think that I'm, so cool. It's just I'm still here because I still love it. And so the effort is worth it to me. Um, but remember, if you're at the beginning of this journey, like everybody's got that grind story. There's one in a million story of the happy accident where it just worked out from the beginning. That's the exception. And people tell those stories because they are exceptions, not because it's how it really works.
Right. And when you start something new, they going to see your resume. Like shoot. Like, every time when I be applying for jobs, I have to make sure I have my resume updated. And there are so many people who have like really big egos today and they want to voice like specific characters. I learned that the hard way when I was trying to like do something amazing, but I realized it's gonna take time. So you have to listen. It's gonna take years. Like, what have you done in the 5 years? Can't just say I can do anything, but what does your resume look like? You got to have proof of what you're doing. Listen, talking about it, that's only going to get you so far. but you need to like show the work you've done. Like, shoot, like I started this whole thing a year ago, and I'm almost to 100 episodes because I put in the time and work to reach out and find people to interact with.
Hmm.
So that's the part of life too. Like, slow down and enjoy the small victories, the small moments.
Yeah, absolutely. And the process is the only part you can live in. There's never a moment where you're like, "Oh, I'm done. I did it." There's always whatever's going to happen tomorrow. It's always on the way. So enjoying the process is the only way that you'll be able to enjoy the life.
Exactly. So slow down and keep just listen. There's always there's an old saying: slow and steady wins the race,
Mhm.
quality over quantity.
Right.
Mhm. So, next question, that will be in section two, okay? Now, what did you have to sacrifice to fully commit to this industry?
Everything.
Mm.
I I I moved to New York City right out of college with a backpack, a box, and the money from selling my car. And then I found a way to survive. I moved to New York City in the middle of a commercial strike when I got there, and everyone was like, there's no work for new actors. So I figured out how to survive. I, my big breaks in TV happened right as one of the major writer strikes were happening. And so it interrupted everything. And so you just keep finding a way to survive. I lived off of no money.
Mm.
I was incredibly lucky. I'm gonna voice some privilege. Like I was very lucky to get out of college without debt. Because of a combination of an inexpensive college and a lot of scholarships. And I know that that set me up with a big advantage over what a lot of people are coming out of school with now. Um, but I mostly had between 2 and 5 day jobs at any given time. It's only been in the last few years that I have stopped doing day jobs for the most part, um, because my career keeps me busy enough. But also, I happen to have married someone whose career is also keeping us afloat. And there's ebbs and flows for each of us. So there was a big difference between me being a solo artist and me being a partnered person. But both of us are actors, and so things come and go, and they ebb and flow. Um, I gave up stability. I gave up the choice of city. For decades, I wasn't allowed to choose my own hair color because my hair had to look the color of my headshots. Um, but there was no other life that I wanted. And because of that, my greater joy stayed in doing this work. There was a time where I tried out having a different life at something else I was good at. And it turned out even being really good at something else that I loved didn't make me as happy as being unsuccessful at something I loved more. So I knew that this was my life and I fully committed all over again. Um, you know, if you want it, you find a way. And that way is not going to look the same for everybody. It's not. And one of the things I tell my students is that a big, huge part of this career is just sticking around, because there comes a point where if you're still here, the other people who are still here are the people that you've been around and been with all this time. And that makes a big difference too.
I understand. Sorry, was that a huge tearjerker? I didn't mean to make you emotional.
No, I don't mind.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, and something my grandma always tell me, sometimes we have to do things that we don't want to do, which means if I have to sacrifice a few things to get ready for bigger stuff, I will do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was a lot of stuff that I had to get rid of because I had bigger stuff. Like I sold so many accounts, like gaming accounts and etc. I had to give up a few things that I did that I don't use anymore because there's something bigger waiting for me out there.
Yeah. For years I realized my secret strategy was I discovered if you go to a business that opens at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and you say, I'll work the opening shift, there's always somebody who wants to quit the shift that works at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning.
Hmm.
So I started work between 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning for about 15 plus years.
Right. And
I worked
sometimes,
early
it's
mornings. but I did it because that meant I could be done with work in time to audition all day or build relationships all day or train. And that was how I chose to do it. Other people find different methods, but you know, if you want it, you find the way that works for you.
Okay. Yeah, and sometimes it's all about the priorities as well. It's always about priorities.
Sure.
Mhm. So, uh, so we're out of that section now. Let's go into the next section called craft, truth, and performance. Okay, so now we got another two-part question. When you step into a character, what part of yourself are you bringing with you every time? Part two, how do you access real emotion in a recording booth where everything is so isolated?
Those are both really good questions. There are many philosophies of acting. My philosophy of acting is the only thing I can do to make my performance unique is bring as much of myself to it as possible, because there is nobody else who's lived my life and lived my story. So if I keep the veil between me and my work as thin as possible, I'm going to have the most creative choices, the most distinct choices, and the most unique choices for me. So I try to bring myself to everything, but that includes, not just my life story. It includes the things that I read and the interests that I have and the things that I watch and the people that I know, allowing all of that to play into it. The stories that meant something to me, allowing those things to be alive. So rather than trying to craft something that solves the problem of the producers or the director, I try to bring as much of me to the table as possible so that I am the answer to the problem. Um, and that's not everybody's process, but I found that that's what works for me. And as a result, it also helps me feel a lot more relaxed when I'm standing by myself in a booth and there's nobody else there. And I have to craft this relationship and this scene and bring emotions to it, because what it comes down to for me is the question of, what would I do if I was in these circumstances and this was happening to me? And sometimes that includes, what would I do if I was an immortal witch living in a land like Mondstadt and I'm writing a travel log for all the right? Like, it's a massive leap to those stories, right? That's a much bigger leap than, what would I do in this romantic comedy where this nice man is flirting with me? Like, that's a much shorter leap to a real life, right? But in both cases, um, if I allow my feelings to get hurt, or I allow myself to be excited, if I eliminate the piece that says, oh, it's so cringy if you have big feelings right now, and just go, my big feelings are my superpower, then it becomes really easy to make strong choices and to allow things to come alive. And it's more fun for me. I hope it's more fun for audiences. But the only answer for me as an actor is to let the veil between myself and my work be as thin as possible.
Okay. Yeah, because I will say this. Every stories that I've seen, there's also some real life experiences y'all have to put into these characters. Like, I know, like, have you ever I can give you a few examples. Like, there was a time where there's like shoot, I'm trying to think of an example. There was like, if you ever heard of the series Naruto, if you heard that show before, they um they had to when Naruto met his mom for the first time, the voice actor for Naruto really had to put her emotions into that scene because recently, I think it was like a few years ago, she lost her own mother. So she had to put that emotions into that scene for that specific character. And the same thing for you. Like, all you guys have personal life experiences, and they want to put that into a really emotional scene in a show so people can understand, oh, so this really happened. But some fans don't seem to grasp it. I think when they get to a certain age, they'll be like, okay, so something happened in this voice actor's life, and they put it in this shows for us to understand what they went through.
Well, and I think that there's a combination, right? Some of it has to be imagination. Not everybody's experienced everything, but it's
Hmm.
imagining, what would I do under these? How would I feel, right? Sometimes it's allowing yourself to be vulnerable and let the truth of something that did happen to you rise to the surface. And sometimes it's knowing when to hold back, because, right, there's an old maxim in acting that if it happens on screen, it doesn't happen in the audience, right? So if I'm experiencing all of the emotions, then you, the audience, don't get to have the catharsis. So sometimes it's me doing the work of allowing it all to bubble up for me and then resisting it as hard as possible so the audience then feels it bubble up and spill out. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
If I cry, you don't cry. But if I fight crying, you might. You know what I mean?
Yes, that's a nice trick.
It's a great it's a really valuable technique. It helps make the scenes work, and it's also part of empathy, right? It's a big part of understanding that how people perceive us impacts how they behave, and how we perceive other people, and whether or not we um, value their experience impacts their experience of us and the world. And I think a big part of acting is the active practice of empathy and making sure that it's not all about me and my experience. It's about making sure you get the experience that you're there for.
Yeah, listen, I want to be along for the roller coaster ride to see what happens. And you're right, we want to see exactly how people are going to react to these stories that are being told on the screen. And yes, it's like I said, we just want to sit back and enjoy the this tapestry you're putting together.
With any luck, we're good weavers.
There you go. Oh, next up, now, have you ever had a character that hit too close to home, and how did you handle that?
You know what's funny? The one that just like flooded into my brain was actually one of my first like jobs on a big game, and it was I wasn't a parent yet. I didn't have a child, but the role was a woman singing a lullaby to her baby as the world is ending around her. And it was the most beautiful and painful experience I've ever had behind the microphone. And it was so simple, and I can't even think about it without it still like doing something to me. And I wasn't even a parent yet. I wonder, honestly, if I would have been able to go there now. Like, I wonder if being a parent now, if it would have felt too big to let that, like, to the if the risk to my soul would have felt too big. Where at the time I had so many people that I loved, including lots of children that I loved. But it let that huge feeling rise, and it still moves me to this day just to think about it, because it became such an active scene. And it was a game changer for me.
Wow, that's amazing. And you weren't even a mom yet. You really had to. That's what also what I like. These are like serious challenges y'all have to take on when y'all do a specific scene, but you guys are missing something that doesn't make you feel like you're ready for it, and you have to just try to like bring deep into your heart and soul and be like, okay, well, shoot, let's pretend something like this did happen to me in real life, but I don't have it. Let's see what happens if I try my best without out that certain item.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes having that big huge imagination is a gift, and sometimes it is painful.
Wow. So. Yeah, gift. So it can either go either ways, but I will say this: did it feel was it a gift or painful when you did it?
Both.
It was both.
But in the best way, you know?
Mhm.
Because I also saw how it impacted people, and that felt incredible. Like, it's that cleansing fire, right? That thing that we all need to experience from time to time, that catharsis of like the feelings have to be all the way big so they burn all the way out, so they clear the pathways to make space. At the time, I don't think that I fully appreciated how much I wanted to have kids in a family, and I didn't yet. And maybe that's why it felt so huge, because it was like mourning something I would never have. and now I do, and it would feel completely different. Like, I don't know if I'd be able to get it out. Like, I'd probably cry the whole way through it if I tried to do it now. But if I cry all the way through it, you don't get to experience that. So I am grateful that I had to make that leap, because then other people get to experience it, you know?
Well, hey, you were in tune with your emotions. That's all that matters. The thing is, like I said, yeah, I like the shows, but I am concerned about the voice actors at the end when they feel emotional now.
We love
So
it. That's the secret. We love it.
yeah, I'm one of the good ones out there. I just want to make sure you guys are all right. So, but yeah, shoot, I'll have to check out what was the name of that show that you did?
It was called The Division. It was a it
The
was
Division.
it was a series of trailers for the game. It wasn't even in the game. It was just meant to draw you into the game, but it was one of those, there are these moments in a career where you feel
Wait,
something shift.
wait, Tom Clancy's The Division?
Yeah.
That's what it. Okay, yeah, I knew. I haven't played that game yet, but I'm
It's
thinking
cool.
about
It's
it.
really cool.
Listen, I'm trying to add some games to play for the summer as well. So thing is, next week I'm about to get the Lego Batman game, Legacy of the Dark
Nice.
Knight.
I love those Lego games. They're so fun.
And I was like, I don't play Legos because they're for kids or whatnot. But I was like, after seeing the trailer, I said, I can't say no.
They're
Like,
so fun. They're somehow it just takes it to another level. It's a blast.
hey, I can see the Lego Magneto right there.
That's our guy.
There
That's our
you
guy.
There you go. And I was like, man, so they're dropping all the bat suits, including the Batman Arkham Trilogy pack. Like, look, like all these pop figures I got Arkham Asylum,
Hmm.
Arkham Knight, and Arkham City.
Nice.
So I got the whole Arkham Trilogy in my room right now.
Love it.
Listen, when they drop that Batman for the bat symbol this year,
Mhm.
and they teased it last fall when I just got the Arkham City pop figure. And here's what I was like. I was like, Funko, why do you do this to me? E? And I was like, I guess my Arkham collection isn't complete.
You're gonna have to add to it. It's just how
I,
it is.
I know they're making me spend more money when I don't have to, but I had to get it. Otherwise, the trilogy would be incomplete in my room.
Well, sometimes you have to resolve and complete. That's just what you got to do.
I know, but yes, next week I'm going to be getting the Batman game because I've been a Batman fan since I was a kid.
Same.
So it's coming. I might even Twitch stream it later.
Ooh, nice.
So yes, I do Twitch stream from time to time. This isn't the only thing I do. I got, like I said, man of many talents.
I love it.
So, but yes, those scenes that make you emotional, that's good. But you are right about one thing. If you do cry throughout the session, it won't feel as good. So I bet they have y'all take breaks as well to get yourself together too.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know some directors will be like, hey, do you need a few minutes to get yourself, you need a few minutes. You gotta have mutual relationship with the director as well.
Absolutely. Directors also they're absolutely our partners in, like I said, right? It's the active practice of empathy. Directors are getting us there, they're holding us there, they're giving us the breaks that we need. They know the right words to say to help us accomplish what we're trying to. Directors are absolutely our partners in it, and we can't do what we do without them.
It exactly. Well, shoot. Hey, if you got any upcoming projects, it's okay to cry, but take a break after you're done, if you need a second. So, but just keep telling those stories.
Thank you.
So, all right. Next one, and let's see. Let's see if I also okay. So, next one, we're going to the next section: industry, reality, and pressure. Another two-part question. Now, what's the hard truth about the voice acting industry that people don't talk about enough? Part two, have you ever questioned your place in the industry and what pulled you through that moment?
I think one of the things that people don't talk about as much, because there's not much to say, is that when you audition for voiceover, you don't have any idea how it went unless you get the job. And the truth is, when you audition for a job, only one person gets it. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of people submitting for some of those jobs, and only one person's going to get it. And that doesn't mean only one person was good enough. There's only room to pick one. And the thing that's hard about this as a career is that 99.6% of the time, that's a made up number, you send the audition out and hear nothing. You might have been second on the list and you hear nothing. And that can be really hard. For me, eventually it actually became empowering because it made it a lot easier for me to relax because I was like, well, I'm not hearing anything anyway. So it made it easier for me eventually to send things off and forget about them and let them go, which leads to a really weird problem where sometimes you book a job and you're like, what's that again? What's the audition? Because I don't remember. Because you get so good at pouring yourself into it, sending it out, and then letting it go that sometimes you forget what it was. But it's hard. It can be really isolating. It's hard to know if you're growing. This is not a corner of the industry where like you're getting callbacks and producers reads. Like that doesn't happen very much in voiceover because of the process. And so you don't know how it's going unless you book the job and only one person gets it. So you can be number 2 or number 4 and have been a viable choice, and you never know, and that's hard. It's hard sometimes. And there are times where I don't know a single actor of any variety, but certainly voice actors that don't have a moment where they're like, I haven't booked anything in X amount of time, and everybody has their own window of tolerance for that, right? And they're like, is something wrong with me? Do I need to learn something new? Should I give up? And I think the actors who stick around are the ones who go, let me just get into a room with some friends and do some workout sessions, so at least I'm getting some feedback. Let me set up a session with a coach that I trust just to get some feedback. Let me watch some things with friends I'm in so I can hear what's really working. And so instead of giving up and walking away, you pour yourself back in more deeply. And in my opinion, the most effective way is with more community and more connection and more attention, where if you can get into a workout group, even online, like the workout groups that now exist online are incredible because you can show up and be like, it's Tuesday, I just need to practice. And I need somebody to hear me and tell me if they hear what I hear. Great. And then you can get back to your day. And you can know that you're still actively in the work. Then that has a lot of value.
Yeah, because the people who truly quit are those who just give up and just don't do it anymore.
And like, I get it. This is a hard life. It is not for everybody. Deciding you don't want to live this life does not make you a quitter. It doesn't. This life is not everybody is cut out for this. It is a high intensity freelance lifestyle. It's very difficult. So it doesn't make you a quitter if you decide it's not for you. But
Right.
if you want to stick around, it takes recommitting over and over and over again, because I also don't know a single actor whose career has only been hit after hit. That doesn't happen. There's so much downtime and so much rejection and failure in between. It's just we don't talk about that part because there's not much of a story. It's, well, I didn't get jobs. There's no story in that, right? So we talk about the stuff that did happen.
Right, right, and you're right. And I had a discussion with someone else, Ariana last week. She was telling me, like voice acting, Los Angeles ain't for everybody. Los Angeles and Texas, it's not for everyone. Some people who want to do this stuff, they do the best they can and see how it goes first. As long as you try, that's all that matters.
Sure. Like if you are trying to see what lights you up as a human being, you got to find out. You got to try. And if you discover that you're more of a fan than a creator, that's great. If you really love like making your own stuff and doing fan dubs with other friends or doing cosplay because of how much you love the characters, like that's all craft. That's all art. Those people are working hard. If what you really love is making characters, and so you put together a tabletop role-playing game group with your friends where you dress up and you pour yourself into those characters, that's making art, and that's legitimate. That's an incredible way to do the thing that you love without having to make it your job. This does not have to be your job to be a big part of your life. And
Hmm.
that's part of the joy, is finding like-minded people to do it with, and to find the way that like really rewards your expression the most. I've had some
Yeah.
of the best times in my acting career in rooms where there's no audience, because we're just doing it together because we love it.
Right. Right. At the end of the day, we're all just trying to live. We're trying to make a living. That's all we're trying to do.
Sure.
Um, Next up, now, what kind of pressure comes with being trusted to bring major characters to life, such as, Wonder Woman from Justice League Action?
It's terrifying. um, it was, for me, Wonder Woman was my first big animation break. And it was also like it was my foundational character. Like it was my character that I grew up on, that was like my dream. Um, so for my first big character to also be like that girl was huge. Um, and I was scared. I was so scared I almost didn't do the audition. And I'm so glad that I did. And I'm so glad that when I did it, I decided to not do anything that I'd ever heard before and just do what felt right. And it wasn't me going, everything else was wrong. I was like, I don't know how to not be terrified of this. So I just have to only do the thing that feels good. And that fortunately worked in that situation. I'm sure I've sent auditions like that for other things that they were like, it doesn't work for this group. And I don't know because they didn't tell me, right? But in that case, it did. And I remember going to tape the pilot, and I've worked in. So the pilot is when you all tape one episode together, and sometimes it's the first one that airs, but usually it's basically like a proof of concept to tell all the people with money, be like, look, isn't it cool? And then from that, you go forward. And I remember going in to record the pilot, and I knew perfectly well that people get recast after pilots, that things change, that dynamics shift, shows don't always get picked up. But I remember standing outside that studio on the Warner Brothers lot and going, even if they recast me, even if this goes away, today I'm Wonder Woman, and no one can ever take that away from me. And then I got to keep doing it, and it was amazing.
That was amazing.
But I remember that feeling. I had to calm my nerves by saying, you know what, maybe your worst fears will come true and this will all go away. But even if that happens, today, right now, this is mine, and I get to own it today. And that was enough for me to find my feet and walk into that room and believe that I belonged there, just enough to get through it. And it worked.
There you go. Yes, and listen, I've seen a few episodes of Justice League Action. I know it was like I think it was like when I was in high school, 2017. When did it come out? 2017 is when it came out.
Very, very bad at dates. That sounds like it could be true. I don't know.
Maybe I can't remember, but I knew I watched it in high school. But yeah, it was like I like some of the episodes in there, and I was thinking because I also was thinking like I don't know if you've seen like any of the old Justice League cartoons because I know if you remember like icons like Susan Eisenberg who did that in the old
She's a
Justice League.
goddess. She's amazing.
Yeah, she's like I was like she makes a great Wonder Woman when I first watched that show. It took me a while to understand it. Listen, when you're a kid, you don't really gain a lot of information, but as an adult, you start to get to it. Because I don't know if have you ever met Susan Eisenberg before? Or not
We're friends.
really.
She's lovely. And she has the cutest dogs on the planet.
Okay, okay. Well, shoot, hey, I'll have to give Justice League Action another watch. But yes, you managed to voice one of the iconic characters in DC Comics. That's like a huge milestone right there.
100%. Honor of my
So,
lifetime.
like,
Absolutely.
don't let nobody take that from you, okay? So, and plus, I like the poster right there with the poster. So, um, let's see now. Oh, last question, then we'll be in the next section, okay? Now, how do you protect your confidence in an industry that's constantly judging your voice of performance? You probably already know the answer, but go ahead.
I mean, the main thing is, and it takes years, is you have to decide that what you think of yourself is more important than what somebody else thinks of you. And it takes a lot of years to really believe that. You know, you can say that to yourself over and over, but it takes time and it takes confidence and it takes practice. And part of it is, you know, beginning to understand what you do well, beginning to understand what is rewarded in the industry because it's going to be different. You know, generationally, sounds change, things about how the business work change. So what would have worked great 30 years ago may not work great now. And that's not because you're not good, it's because the circumstances are different. So part of it is beginning to understand your own instrument and your own tool. And part of it is beginning to trust that your process is unique and that it matters. And over time, that self belief actually starts to be real. And then you don't have to do the work to try and pretend again. And I will admit, every once in a while, my poor husband, every once in a while, I come in from a session, I'm like, I am really good at my job. I think I forgot. Because everybody has those dips, right? There are those times where you're like, things just haven't been going great for the last however long. And then you come in and I was like, I am good at my job. Oh, that felt so great. I was with the directors and everything was clicking and I realized I am good at this. Great. And then that holds you over to the next time. Everybody forgets for a few minutes, and that's okay.
Hey, as long as you're being true to yourself, because listen, we got people on the internet, all these trolls on the internet, they be saying all kinds of whacked up shit, saying like, oh, this performance and like there's gonna be people out there who's gonna be critiquing you. Like when I've done so many projects in college, I had people critiquing me. I didn't care what they said or feel about me. I just did the work because I know this is something I have to do.
Yes.
And so I just didn't care what, like, block all the negativity out. Like, there's always, listen, there's always going to be some bad apples out there who will just say a crazy stuff. Question is, can we be mature enough to ignore it so we can keep doing what we love?
Well, and here's the thing. There is stuff that the world loves that isn't for me. It doesn't mean it's not good. It's just not everything is for you. And it's okay if I'm not for everybody. That's okay. You don't got to be a dick about it on the internet, right? There's that break, right? There's the people who the only fix that they get is trying to make other people feel bad, and my heart hurts for them. I wish that they were happier people. But also like it's okay if you don't like my take on a character. That's totally fine. It's the people who are making it decided it worked, and if it's not for you, that's fine. I don't like everything that's been made by every person ever either, but I do respect the people making it, and that's the difference.
Right. Because, you got some people like saying, I don't know if you've been seeing a lot of reports going around with, because there was a lot of attacks on like, as far as like, diversity on characters as well, because we've been getting a lot of new changes. I will say this because I'm gonna try to be fast and keep it short. There have been attacks on a lot of black people who've been like doing characters who aren't the original from back in the day, like Halle Bailey and The Little Mermaid. I don't know if you saw the live action one.
I did. I
Uh,
thought she was amazing.
yeah, they were saying like she's not this character or whatnot, and then some idiot on X decided to do an AI generated image of her as a white woman, and I was like, yo, if y'all don't like it, then don't watch it. It's that simple. But yeah, no matter how many times I say that, they always got something to say. They're just doing it for attention.
Yeah. Yeah, at a certain point, like you can't make everybody happy and you shouldn't try because that'll just make you crazy. But also, some people suck. And the
Mhm.
people who are using AI to change somebody else's work, they suck. I'm just going to
Mhm.
say it. If you're out there using AI and you're stealing artists' work to try to change it to something you prefer, you suck. And I don't want to know you. And I don't want you to watch my stuff. You don't get to.
Mhm.
Because if you have the guts to make things, you make things. And if all you have is the temerity to steal, I don't have to respect you. I don't have to
Mhm.
listen to your opinion. Halle
Right.
Bailey is amazing. She's incredible. I have issues with the wigs that they put on King Triton. That was an issue. I got an issue with that wig. That wig was a problem. I do not have an issue with her performance. She was incredible. And I thought it added an amazing, interesting nuance to the idea of the ocean is what connects the planet. How boring do you have to be to think that one version of one story is all we should ever get?
Mhm. Even the director was saying, like, using the same character over and over again is not how we move forward.
No.
And, there's another old saying, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make him drink it.
Yeah.
So
And look, if you're making things with AI, you're poisoning the water anyway, so get out.
it
I have feelings.
exactly. So yeah, so we just have to listen. I always tell people peace and love over hatred. There's always going to be people who's going to be critiquing your work, but you can't let that stop you from doing what you need to do.
Yeah.
Because this is your job. It is a job, but you can't let something like that stop you from doing your job.
Yeah.
So besides, they're just trolling on the internet, doing all the keyboard wars and stuff.
If I'll say it again, if your greatest thrill in life is trying to make other people feel bad, that means you are a sad person on the inside, and I hope you feel better because that's a terrible life to live.
Hmm.
Be better. Find
Exactly.
other things to bring you joy.
Exactly. All right. Well, we're getting closer in here. Before we continue, are you enjoying our discussion so far?
I am, thank you.
Sure thing. Now, next one is about your teaching job, teaching, legacy, and impact. Now, here comes another two-part question. I'm just throwing two-part questions at you.
Bring it.
Now, when you're coaching actors, what's something you find yourself saying over and over again? Part two, what's the biggest mindset shift someone needs to make to actually succeed in this field?
The thing that I find myself saying over and over again is, what do you think? Because if you're spending all of your time as an actor trying to please someone else, you are missing the opportunity to be inspired and be inspiring. So coming back to, what do you think? How does it make you feel? What do you want to do? What lights you up is always going to be, in my estimation, the way to make things really come to life. And it's so much more fun. And if you're having fun, you're gonna do better work, even when it's serious work. I forgot the second half of your question, but I remember that it relates.
I want me to say it again? Or...
Sure.
Okay. What's the biggest mindset shift someone
So
needs
that
to make?
mindset shift, right? I was like, wait,
Yeah.
I know these are related.
Yeah, go ahead.
The mindset shift, right, is be a good actor. A good actor comes from being the best me, right? The mindset shift isn't about pleasing someone else. The mindset shift is about allowing yourself to be relaxed and joyful and playful, and allowing yourself to be instead of striving to achieve something. I still remember the day that Bob Bergen, one of the absolute greatest teachers
Oh,
out,
yes, yes.
Bob
He was
Bergen,
Porky
literally,
Pig.
he put his hands on my shoulders. He grabbed my shoulders and he looked at me and he said, "You're a good actor. Just be a good actor." And it shook those little scales off of my eyes until I went, "Oh, I can just be a good actor." Okay, great. and it was so small and it sounds so silly, but it was this shift. It was like, I don't have to try to be something to do animation. I don't have to try to do a thing to do it this way. Being a good actor using all of my tools was what I needed. So the mindset shift was, be an actor. Don't be a voice performer. Don't solve this problem, right? Being a good actor means listening carefully. It means reading the paper carefully. It means bringing your life to the page. It means showing up fully and bringing yourself into the work. That applies whether it's on mic, on camera, on stage, live in person, right? So be a good actor, but that means you've got to bring everything to the table with you. And that is where the shift comes. You got to show up every time.
show up. And listen, even if you don't have all the necessary tools, just use what's in your arsenal right now. You'll level up at a later date.
Yeah,
This,
absolutely.
like I said, this goes what I'm saying. Like, this stuff will take time, do the
No one is
research.
done learning.
Mhm.
No one is done learning. Professionals are always learning too. Doing this for 30 years does not mean that I don't have something new to learn today. So if you are working and you are learning, congratulations, you're doing what we're all doing. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean that you're not there yet. It means you are doing the work, learning, adding more tools, bringing more techniques, allowing yourself to show up more. That is the process. So if you're doing it, congratulations, you're doing the work. That's exactly what we do.
Yes. And listen, learn is forever. You know the old saying, knowledge is power.
Hmm.
Like, pick up a book and read. Listen, I am trying to read more. I haven't picked up a book in a while, but I need to read a book at a later date.
The Barbara
Go read.
proud.
I might need to have to put like, listen, I know back in school, I had to do like a summer reading list. Well, shoot. I didn't want to do summer reading lists at all, but I know I had to for school. I don't think they do it anymore, but I guess now I was like, maybe I should put my own summer reading list by myself to do.
Yes, 100%. There was a time where I was in college where I made myself a list. I wrote it down. Movies I should have seen by now and haven't. And all of these classic movies that were referenced that I just hadn't seen yet. I remember when I was out of college, I made a list just like that of books I should have read by now and haven't. And I lived in New York City and I had a 40-minute subway ride in from where I lived in Brooklyn into the city. So I stopped 2 or 3 times a week at the New York Public Library and I just checked things off my list of books I should have read by now and haven't. My life changed. I am what we call in the neighborhood a heavy library user. Like I am all the time. And I'm going to right now because of the stage of my life, it's mostly audiobooks for me, which is wonderful because I get to celebrate my fellow voice actors. But that's how I get it in. I'm listening to books while I'm cutting food and folding the laundry and watering the garden. I'm listening to um, books while I'm, doing my grocery runs in the car. I keep my brain alive and I keep my heart inspired by adding stories or information that keep me a more interesting person so I can bring more of me to my work and all of it feeds itself. And it doesn't matter if it's on the page, if it's an audiobook, if it's a book somebody read to you, it doesn't matter if it's short or long. It's continuing to fill up your well with stories and information that keeps you going. And sometimes that's watching The Godfather and going, oh, that's not just a good movie for the 70s. Like, it's actually just a great movie. Oh, I didn't know that until I saw it. And I was 19 or 20 when I finally saw it for the first time. Seeing White Heat and going, top of the world, Ma. Somebody said it in a movie for the first time, and then we've all just been copying it for the next 70 years. Oh, right. And then the books that you read that help you learn about the world. I saw somebody recommending audiobooks the other day, and the one I had to chime in was I was like, listen, don't read, listen to the audiobook of Trevor Noah's Life as a Crime, because you can hear him tell his story and speak the 6 or 7 languages that he speaks. And I understood more about his story because he told it to me. And it changed some things I didn't know I needed to change about how I viewed that period of time. You know, allow yourself to be changed by the people around you and the information that's there. If you make your own book list, you can have the best summer ever. Like, it doesn't have to be the list someone else wants to make. Make your own list. Movies I should have seen, books I should have read, and just start taking them off and feel your life fill up.
There you go. I would also have to recommend The Fault in Our Stars. That's a good one.
Yes, yes. And from we love the Green Brothers, everything is tuberculosis, right? Fiction, nonfiction, both make your world richer, fuller, give you those feelings, change your world, change it all. Short, powerful.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah, always when you get a chance, pick up a book and read something. And I'm talking to myself too. I got to pick up a book and read something. I need to do that, you know. My mom began on me saying you don't read, you don't like to read. Shoot, she just doing that to this. She just teasing me and all that stuff. Listen, I didn't like to read in school, trust me, but I'm getting to the point where I have to now. I have to in this stage in my life. I need to keep reading books.
Yeah,
No,
for sure.
even if it's like a graphic novel or something, pick up something and read.
There are so many incredible graphic novels out there being written. Like the collaboration of artists and writers together, it doesn't diminish the art. It elevates it. It's not less than. It is exceptional.
Hmm. Exactly. So let's keep reading together.
Let's do it.
So, let's see. Next up, now, have your students ever taught you something that changed how you approach your work?
Yes. Yeah. One of the things that I value so much about my students is the number of ways that I realize a blind spot I didn't know I had. Because you don't know what you don't know until you know it.
Right.
And I am so grateful when my students are like, that doesn't apply to my life, or my life looked this way, or circumstances of their upbringing, or what their life is like because of the bodies that they live in. I am profoundly grateful to the students who are willing to teach me because their lived experience is not mine. And I am so grateful for all of those lessons.
Hmm. And every listen, and I've learned this too. Like, listen, student, I work with my mom on this thing called Kumon. I don't even know if you've heard of Kumon before. It's an after school program. We have certain kids who tell us everything about their life as well because we've been getting a lot more diverse people. There's been a lot more Koreans coming to our centers,
Cool.
and we just wanted to know exactly what the culture is because now my mom's saying probably need to learn Spanish now because we're probably going to have some Mexicans coming in later this fall. So we're trying to learn different cultures as well. See, like, because I know sometimes you have students from different cultures as well who come to you, right?
Sure.
And they ask like what their experience. Because I know lately, right now, with the way films and TVs are going, some of y'all can't finish the show unless y'all have like a different person from a different heritage with their own perspective of how this story needs to go.
Yes, and I'm so grateful that things are shifting that way more and more, where we are valuing a legitimate expression of experience over just what famous person is willing to do it.
Exactly. And like I said before, like if I don't understand a certain culture, like I would rather just ask them, hey, if you got a few minutes, can't you educate me on it so I can be more grounded and more aware so I'll know exactly what to expect. Because lately now I'm planning to go to other countries at a later time, probably like 2027, maybe try to go check out Vietnam or Singapore, maybe Italy too. So there's a few places I want to go check out.
Yeah.
So it's a work in progress. But yeah, you have to listen to your student stories and know exactly what, tragedies they went through, what they're like, the different obstacles and challenges they each had to experience. And that goes the same with every industry that you're facing in, not just the teaching and VA industry as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got to listen as much as we talk. That's just a life skill.
Exactly. One last question that would be at the end, okay? I'm trying to go as fast because I know you gotta get moving at some point. Hopefully I'm not going too long here.
You're good.
Um, what do you believe separates people who want it from the ones who actually make it?
I think the biggest difference is the decision that you're going to stick around no matter what, and you're going to be creative about how you go about it. Um, I, like I said, I worked day jobs for decades at 4 and 5 o'clock in the morning because that's what
Mm,
I figured out would give me the availability in my day to do auditions. I knew people who tried it out and left because they're like, well, I can't get a job that gets me a chance to audition. I'm like, you weren't creative enough. You don't have to try my way, but if you're letting those obstacles get in your way, then you need to think about creatively what works for you. It's going to look different for lots of people. Um, so you've got to figure out what you're willing to risk. You've got to figure out what you're willing to sacrifice. And I absolutely acknowledge the privilege that for me, one of the reasons I stayed single and lived in not the neighborhoods my parents would have chosen for me was because I wanted to keep my costs low so I could keep my risk level high so I could really pour myself into the effort. I acknowledge that is not possible for everyone. It would not be the same for me now with kids. I would not be willing to take the same risks now because there are other people who are relying on me. And that is a reality that I think it's okay to acknowledge, right? There are times and places where you have to figure out what risk level you are willing to tolerate, and you have to be creative about how to solve those problems, and it's going to look different for everybody. And I know some friends who they started their career as influencers because they're like, well, it's the easiest way for me to stay freelance so I can really work on my acting career. And then their internet following is part of what helped them get auditions. And the whole time they were like, I was always an actor. That was always what I was doing. But I had this fashion blog so that I could bring in extra income while I was doing that other thing, right? Like, it looks different for everybody. I do not have the capacity nor the style to create a fashion blog. That is not for me, right?
I understand.
I could wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning for $9 an hour and make no money, but keep food on my table because I was willing to eat just apples and rice for months at a time. It's the biggest difference is how creative are you willing to be to make it work? And the truth is, sometimes the risk is too high right now. And that doesn't mean you're a failure, and that doesn't mean you don't want it enough. Sometimes the risk is too high. But figuring out what risks you're willing to take and figuring out where you will get creative about solving that problem is going to be the only way that you survive it, because all of our careers are temporary. It's always job to job for everybody. There's nobody who just gets to coast. So you've got to keep figuring out how to solve that problem. And sometimes that's Vin Diesel making a short film that got Steven Spielberg excited about him. And then everybody else going, Vin Diesel made a short film that got Steven Spielberg excited about him. And everybody made a short film, and it wasn't the answer for everybody anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's finding that way. It's finding that path more and more right now. It's artists and actors creating their own work to keep themselves fulfilled and also as a showcase for what they can do. It wasn't the same when I started, and that's okay too. These things evolve, and so we just keep growing and problem solving as we go.
You just made me think of a quote when you said all that stuff. When people couldn't do short films, as people got their own different journeys and everything. Kung Fu Panda, when he was fighting, when Poe was fighting Tai Lung in that scene, and he was like, "What? There's nothing here." He's like, "Don't worry, I didn't understand it the end of the first time. I'm too. There's no secret ingredient. It's just you."
Exactly.
Hmm. So it took me a while to understand the outside. So it's just me. You have to do it. There's no special powers or anything. It's you.
Yep.
Hmm. Um, Now we're at the finale. Personal balance and purpose. Now, how do you stay connected to yourself outside of the characters you play?
I think it's really important to have things that you care about. And it's really that simple. I care a lot about being a mom and being the kind of mom that I want to be, which is a really specific kind of mom. I keep myself inspired with the books that I read and the materials that I consume. I have become really interested in gardening in the last few years because there's something really tangible about putting in work and seeing it rewarded. And that sometimes it fails, and that doesn't mean I'm a bad gardener. Sometimes the gopher came and ate my sunflower, and that
Oh
didn't mean
no.
I failed at growing a sunflower. The world happens, right? And I get to see those lessons over and over again. And that keeps me present, and it keeps me alive, and it keeps me in tomatoes. The things that you do that make you a complete person are the things that also make you a better artist. I've got that, ADHD learn a new craft every 12 weeks thing, and so like learning to crochet and learning to make toys, and I pulled my sewing machine back out recently. It's because those are the things that keep that creative buzz humming, and none of that is voiceover. And all of it makes me a better actor because it keeps me present in what lights me up so that when I come across material, I have something to say about it. And then I also make sure that I stay connected with, my friends and the work that they're doing. I'm not in a workout group at this moment, but I've found them incredibly valuable through most of my career. Be in class, regularly check in with a coach or a trusted, friend. Those things keep you alive and they keep you in check. Fortunately, my husband and I both do this. So every once in a while, I'm like, is this what I think it is? And we can bounce it off of each other, which is helpful. But honestly, living a full life makes you a better creative person, even when you're not doing your creative work.
Right. Yes. That is amazing. Yes. Make those connections, with people, and like you said, keep going to class, that's how we can, like, y'all can also talk about, regular stuff after the class is over, just day-to-day stuff. Like, cause some people be like, cause it's hard to like, lately I am trying to get back out there and connect with more people. I go out on Fridays and see what new stuff is going on. I go downtown a few times and see if there's any updates. But yeah, as long as you have that regular human interaction with people, you'll be fine.
That's right.
So this next one's about your homestead. So it's gonna be fun. What does your life on your homestead give you that the industry can't?
I think it's what I was saying about staying present. There's something every day I have to feed the chickens and give them clean water. Every day I have to check on the garden. It is easier for me to remember the like chop wood, collect water factor when something will die if I don't do it. But that applies to my career too. And so staying present in the things that are directly impacted by my effort keeps me present in the work that I'm doing. And it is always my private little game with myself in the last, I don't know, a couple of weeks, but it's probably been longer than that, is I will go into the booth and I'm like, future me will appreciate this. And I will do auditions that I'm wrong for, and I will work on an audition that has a song that I am not good at singing. And I'm like, I get in there and I grind on the thing I'm not good at, and then I send it anyway because I trust my agents to not send it if it's bad. But I put in the work to just be like, I don't want to do this. I don't feel good about it. I'm gonna do it anyway. My fingernails have dirt under them because I had to dig up things that needed to come out and put things in that needed to go in. Sometimes you just need to stand behind the microphone and do stuff you're not good at so that the stuff that's good comes and flows.
It's a way of projecting, ain't it? You gotta project, get all that stuff out.
Yeah.
So if you've been through a hard day, I just feel like venting to somebody. That's good. You need to vent so you can feel refreshed and try again the next day.
That's right.
So
Got to keep those pathways clear.
exactly. All right, now this is the two-part question to wrap it up, okay?
All right.
Now, sorry, how has this career changed the way you see people or the world around you? Part two, at the end of the day, what kind of impact do you hope your work leaves behind?
I think the reason I do this work is because of how I see the world and not the other way around. I have always wanted to know more and understand more and connect more, especially to people I don't share experiences with. And I think that's why this career has resonated with me so much, is that it gives me the chance to learn something new and try something new and live inside of new shoes and new skin over and over and over again. What I'm grateful for is that I have continued to learn those lessons. I feel like because of my work, I am a better person who still makes so many mistakes, but that I have a better appreciation for the things I didn't know until I knew them, and a better appreciation that means there's a lot more that I don't know and I still have to learn. This career has connected me to people all over the world, And there's nothing more special than that. To be able to connect with people that I am not going to cross paths with on the sidewalk because our work brings us to a different sidewalk together. And that's really, really special. It makes the world a smaller place in the best possible way. And I feel so lucky that I get to have an impact on people's lives, sometimes just with joy, sometimes with a life-changing perspective. I am grateful that the things that change me and light me up can change other people and light them up. And I feel lucky that I get to be a part of anybody's story. In the same way that there is art that's changed my life, that means I get to be a tiny part of the art that changes someone else's life. And for me, I chose this life because I think that's monumental. And if I get to be a part of that for someone else, there's no greater gift in the world than that, of being allowed to impact people. And it's fun. It's a joy. And if I get to share that joy, how lucky am I?
That's great, Rachel. That's very powerful. It's nice. Well, I think that kind of wraps up, and I think I made it on time with this. Well, did you enjoy our discussion today?
I did. Thank you.
Thanks. Yes, well, oh, hey, keep doing the hard work, keep making those stories. I'm gonna make sure to watch some of your shows this summer.
I appreciate it. Have a good time.
Thanks.